Hello, I'm Nijat. Nice to see you again. This time, I'm standing exactly in front of Hungarian National Assembly. My guest is Mr. Bana Tibor. He's a member of Hungarian Parliament representing Jobbik Movement for a Better Hungary, which is a radical right-wing party. He has been one of the youngest MPs, was 25 years old when Jobbik could delegate at the first time in the Parliament. Apart from this, he works in the National Assembly as a vice chairman of the Committee on European Affairs and the faction director of the Jobbik party. He is married, his interest in different types of sport, including football and basketball. Mr. Bana Tibor, thank you. First of all, let me express my pleasure to be in your office. Thank you very much for your hospitality indeed. As I know, you are you have great experience in different types of sports, in particular in football. Could you tell me what have changed recently in Hungarian football, since your childhood, and in particular if you take into consideration European Championship 2016 performance of Hungarian team?
Yeah. Good morning, and thank you very much. And it's very good to explain Jobbik's opinion about some questions. Football, yeah, it's important in Hungary, I think, and it was important in my childhood and now too. And I think that the Hungarian national team is very strong now. We were at the European Championship, and we had good experiences, and I think that the whole nation made great support for the team, and I hope that in the coming years we will be very good, and we could go to fly to the World Championship.
I hope so, because you have potential.
Yeah, I think it's so. So I'm a great football fan, and I think that in Hungary it's always important, but now there are Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro, and I think that we will have a good experience, and we have some gold medals.
Yeah,
now.
Swimming,
swimming, we were very strong,
it's nice. So thank you very much. Let's get back to the current situation in the EU. How can you relate the current situation in EU? Do you believe that is there any other member state which is inspired by Brexit? After Brexit, is there any next candidate?
I think that it's not an easy question, but I think that the Brexit will have a great effect on other member states, and I think that not only Hungary but some other EU member states will have to change the European Union, because I think that the best solution would be if European Union will be the Europe of nations. And Jobbik's opinion is that firstly we have to defend the Hungarian interest as a member state, and I think that there are some other countries who have the same opinion. So I think after Brexit there will be opportunity for this, and maybe in Central Europe or with the Baltic states we could cooperate, and after this I hope that there will be changes, because the Europe of the nations would be the best solution, and not the United States of Europe.
The main idea is also the reforms. My next question, which type of change you are expecting in the relationship between EU and the UK after this Brexit? What's your perspective, I'm saying?
I think that it was a strong message from the United Kingdom, and I think that they will cooperate with the European Union, but now there will be elections in the United States, and I think that it had effect on the UK referendum. So after this, it will be a good question, because it will be 2 years the negotiations between the European Union and the United Kingdom, and other good question or interesting question could be that what will be with Scotland?
Well, they are
but because they are thinking it something different. But I think that we could say that in the European Union, in many countries, there are more and more parties who are stronger than before, and who want to defend their national interests, and I think that it could be a great pressure on the European Union, and it's a good question that in some years what changes will be there. So I hope that there will be some changes, and we could defend our land, and we could defend Europe, because the migration question is another.
So we will continue about it. It's a good topic also. And also, in your opinion, what are the main ideas to hold the Hungarian referendum on the EU's mandatory migrant resettlement quota system in October 2016? What is the main idea to organize this referendum?
There will be a referendum, and Jobbik's opinion is, of course, that we are strongly against the migration, and we want to defend Hungary. But on the other side, we said that in the parliament we could make some steps against this, and this referendum is a good political question for Fidesz too, because they could say for months that it's the biggest problem. It's a very big problem, and we supported all of the measures which was taken by the government against the migration, and of course we will vote with now on the question. But I think that in the parliament we could make some steps against this, and there is a two-third with Fidesz and Jobbik, and it will be the solution, and we could send a message to Brussels in this in the other way. So
the idea of the people, Hungarian people,
the Hungarian people, I think mainly should decide, but they are strongly against the migration.
So, but in this, in the both scenarios, which potential steps you are expecting from the government after this referendum results? Potential, if they're negative or positive, what will happen?
It's not easy, because the government hopes that there will be enough people who will go to the referendum, and who will vote against the migration policy of Brussels.
Some people are also in abroad, and also
it's another good question, and the left-wing parties are boycotting this referendum, which is another interesting topic. So I think that after the referendum, the government has to do anything against the migration, and I hope that their voice will be strong enough. We, the members of the Jobbik, in some international places, are strongly against this policy, and we explained our opinion in OSCE or European Council and the other places.
That's good. Thank you very much. And my next question, do you see any relationship between migration crisis and terrorism? Why the number of supporters this idea is increasing day by day? And is it logical to make some comparisons or some parallels?
Yeah, I think that we have to make some parallels because, as we could see in the recent months, there were big terrorist attacks in Europe, unfortunately. Yeah. And I think that if we enter more and more migrants to Europe, then the danger will be higher, the level will be higher. But it's important to know that, for example, in Paris, there were two or third generation migrants who made attacks 1 year before. So I think that in whole Europe there have to be strong steps against this question, and I think that the migration policy of the European Union is very bad as I see. So, for example, we could say that 1 year ago there wasn't any good solutions for the question. So there were debates, but but about other topics, and it wasn't the main topic. Yeah. And we said 3 or 4 years ago that it will be a big problem. Yeah. And Jobbik said it always. For example, László Toroczkai, the mayor of Ásóthalom, made ideas against this.
But do you believe that this sensitive, let's say, approach to this migration policy in Europe should be generalized to all migrants or not? They had to, like.
Yeah, of course. I think we don't have to speak about all migrants generally, because there are migrants who could integrate, but most of the migrants don't want to do this. So I think that we have to make. We have to defend our interest and the Hungarian border. Yeah. And I think that, of course, maybe 10 or 20% of these migrants should integrate
to the local community.
But it's a very sensitive question, and I think if we see the terrorist attacks in the last months, then the solution would be that we have to say no for this migration, and the EU have a big responsibility, but we could say that unfortunately the EU don't want to do strong.
And my question about this again, this migration crisis. Do you believe that the negotiations between Turkey and the EU can offer a solution to this crisis?
I think that it's important to negotiate with Turkey, but it shouldn't be the solution, because I think that the problem is bigger, and not only the European Union, but for example the United States of America has big responsibility about this topic, and I think that there in those countries from which there are more and more migrants coming to Europe, we have to do something, and it's firstly I think it's firstly the United States of America's responsibility. So of course we have to negotiate, and we have to do some steps for the best solution as EU member states, but the situation is not the same in the member states. So in Western European countries, and in Turkey, of course, the problem is now bigger, and I think that some countries which are near Turkey have big responsibilities, and I think that okay, the EU have to send money, maybe, but how to manage the situation. But as I said, the responsibility of the United States is it's very strong, and I think that we have to speak about this.
And as you mentioned, do you believe that EU support on employment and social policies in the member states is efficient, particularly Eastern European countries, let's say member states?
No, I think it's not efficient, and the other problem I see as a Hungarian MP, we are now more than 10 years ago member states of the European Union, but there are very big differences between the Western European and the Eastern or Central or Eastern European countries, and I think that the last years there wasn't efficient steps for the solution and to change the situation, because I think that some leaders of the European Union have other interests, and they don't want to change this situation. It's very good for them, and I mentioned the question of the Hungarian land, and I think that we have
cheaper labor force
or the cheaper labor
you mentioned
force. So I think that we have to make reforms in the European Union, and maybe with some other Central European countries, with the Baltic region countries, we could do this.
And also for entire
after the UK referendum.
If you would like to evaluate the performance of the Committee on European Affairs of the Hungarian National Assembly, in which level you achieved your main goals, let's say? I think you are Vice President.
I'm Vice Chairman of the Committee on European Affairs, and I think that Hungary's position is, and we could say that in communication the government's position is, that we have to do some reforms as a member state of the European Union, and we have to cooperate with other countries, with the V4 countries, for example. But I see that it's only a communication, and the government don't really make steps for these reforms, or only in some questions which are politically good for them. But I think that the national parliaments and the member states have to be stronger in the European Union. So, for example, the red card procedure, which was the United Kingdom's idea, would be a good solution for the situation. But it's a good question that the European Commission's opinion about this question is positive or negative. I think that we both know the answer for this, but I think if there are some countries who are strong enough for do these reforms in this situation after the referendum in the United Kingdom, then there should be big changes, because Jobbik's opinion is that the best way for Hungary would be the Europe of the nations. So we don't want to exit from the European Union tomorrow, but we think that we have to do some reforms, and I think that now it's a great opportunity for these reforms.
And thank you very much. And finally, what is your last final message to the European people and migrants who recently arrived to European countries? What is your last message to them before even this referendum?
Of course, my message for European people is that
young generation
for
also,
young generation
and who's studying or living or working abroad, particularly Hungarian young people.
Yeah, there are many Hungarian young people who are working or studying abroad, and I think that we have to cooperate, and I think that it is very important that we have to defend our Europe and the values of Europe.
Yeah.
And I think that it's in connection with the migration question, because, as I mentioned, there are some migrants who could integrate, but I think that we have to send a strong message to Brussels, and it's not only the referendum on the 2nd of October, but I think that we in the Hungarian Parliament have to work against the way of the United States of Europe, and I think the youngest generation are Europe more and more open, and I think so I see it's not easy, the situation is not easy, but it should be by the future, as we mentioned, if we do some steps together, and it's important to cooperate between European countries, because we think that there are values who have to be stronger and stronger in Europe, and then we could defend. And in Central Europe, these values, I think, are now stronger than in Western Europe.
As a conservative.
Yeah.
So that's it. Thank you very much, Mr. Bana Tibor.
Thank you very much.
I highly appreciate the
opportunity.
So thank you very much. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe my channel and don't forget to leave your comments. See you for the next videos. Bye.